days you hear a lot about gut health, and for good reason. The health of what's known as your microbiome, or all the bacteria that live in your gut, is key to our overall health. In our digestive systems live both good and bad bacteria, and to stay as healthy as possible, we always want more of the good guys than the bad guys. So that's the reason that a lot of people take probiotic supplements. But another great way you can also boost the good bacteria is by eating probiotic-rich foods like pickles. No, we're not talking about store-bought pickles that keep on the shelf out of refrigeration. I'm talking about the raw fermented pickles that need to be refrigerated to stay fresh, like this kind. This is small town culture sauerkraut. That's going to really provide our gut with the beneficial bacteria that's good for us. If you can't find these at your local natural food store, or if you just want to learn how to make them yourself, I'm going to show you how to make gut-friendly homemade pickles 3 different ways. By the way, if you're new here, I'm Christine, and here on Christine's Natural Kitchen, I share recipes that are as delicious as they are healthy. I'm making this video in collaboration with Basil Bandwagon Natural Market, who provided the healthy ingredients I'm using to make these pickles. To prepare our mixed veggie tamari pickles, I have 3 different vegetables here. I have broccoli stems, which I'm going to peel, some celery, and some carrot. You'll want to be sure to peel the broccoli stems because they have a very tough outer skin. You can slice your broccoli stems into sticks or coins. I'm going to go for the coins. I'm also going to cut my carrot into rounds, and this carrot was peeled. The idea is to get your vegetables nice and thin, so there's one other way you can do that, and that's using a mandolin. But I want to caution you, these are very sharp, so just be careful and follow the instructions that come with it if you are going to be using a mandolin. And next, slice your celery, and this I'm just going to cut on a slight diagonal into nice thin pieces. Everything is super thin. We're going for approximately half a cup of everything. I was a little shy on half a cup with the broccoli stem, so I'm just cutting a little extra celery and carrot so that I'll have a cup and a half of veggies. So now that we have our cup and a half of combined sliced veggies, we have the start of our brine. What we have here is 1/2 cup of water that's been boiled and cooled. This is 2.5 tablespoons of tamari. I chose organic tamari, and this is gluten-free. We also are using a sterilized jar. I cleaned this thoroughly. You can even drop it briefly in boiling water to make sure that it's really clean. And then we're going to be using some brown rice vinegar as well. This is 2 tablespoons of brown rice vinegar. So my daughter Anya decided she wants to help. If you see a little hand joining in here, here you go, honey. We're going to pour the tamari in there. Now we're going to place a lid on the jar and just shake it up to mix up our brine. And it's as easy as that. That's our pickling brine. Okay, go ahead, Anya. You want to add the vegetables? Now, obviously, you can see that that's a little full, but that's okay. We have a solution for that. Okay, so I'm going to put the lid back on, and I'm going to shake it up so that the brine coats all of the vegetables. Then I'm going to take the lid off, and the idea is that we want to keep the vegetables submerged under the liquid. Now I'm going to cut a piece of cheesecloth to cover the pickles. This is unbleached cheesecloth, but you can use whatever cheesecloth you like. And I'm going to cover the top of my pickles with this just to keep out any, bugs or critters or anything from getting in there. Then to secure our cheesecloth in place, I just put a little rubber band, or you could tie a piece of string, and this will keep it in place. Now we're going to let the pickles sit for 24 hours at room temperature. Generally, you want the temperature to be about 65 to 80 degrees. You don't want it too cold or too warm. And we're just going to find a cool, dark place to put these. So there's our pickles ready to just sit for 24 hours. Let's go ahead and make some of our other pickles. Next, we're going to use a combination of beet and some fennel bulb to make what I like to call pink pickles, because really anything that you pickle along with a little ratio of beet is going to turn a nice pink color. Don't be intimidated if you've never used fennel bulb. It's very easy to cut up. I'm just going to slice the bulb in half. I already trimmed off a little bit of the bottom part. And then you just want to cut this little core part out, and we're not going to use much of the stem here. We're just going to basically use this part. Next, trim off the stems, and you can save these to use in soup stock if you like. I'm just trimming off any little brown spots that I see there. Now I'm going to cut each half in half. And you can either cut them by hand using your knife, or you can very carefully use a mandolin to cut them nice and fine, just like our other vegetables. And they do even make gloves that you can actually use, a protective glove where you can't cut yourself. So that's an idea if you're worried about cutting yourself. Or you can just do like I do and just, only go so far and then do the rest by knife. But you'll see that this does get it really nice and thinly shaved. Even with your knife, if you get to a point where you feel like it's getting too close to your fingers and you're afraid you're going to cut yourself, just save this thicker piece and use it in soup stock or something else. And I'm going to put the cut side facing down so it's stable, and then slice it in half. I'm going to slice this in half again. And you guessed it, I'm going to slice it thinly. Keep in mind we only need a 1/4 cup of this, so I probably have enough already. To make our brine, I have 3/4 of a cup of the boiled and cooled water in a sterilized jar. And then I'm using an interesting vinegar. It's an umi plum vinegar. It's not really a true vinegar. It's actually the brine from the pickling process of pickling umeboshi plums. So it's a salty, sour tasting, quote unquote, vinegar. And you see it has a beautiful pink color. And the nice thing is, since it's so salty and sour, you don't need to use additional salt. Normally you need to use something sour like an apple cider vinegar along with salt or soy sauce. But in this case, you can just get away with using the umeboshi vinegar. So I'm pouring 1/4 cup of the umeboshi vinegar in with our 3/4 cup of water. Add the fennel. Now we're going to add the 1/4 cup of beet. And you probably noticed that just like our other pickles, the vegetables are not quite submerged under the liquid, and we want them to be. So we're going to do our old trick again here with using a jar to just keep them submerged under the liquid. And just like with our other pickle, we're going to cover it with some cheesecloth. And I like to put my pickles as they're fermenting for the 24 hours inside a glass container like this, just in case water leaks out of the vegetables, because the vegetables do release some liquid as they're fermenting and could wind up with a little liquid under your jars. So just be sure to keep them on a plate or something. When I remove the jar, you can see that the vegetables packed down enough so that they are under the liquid pretty much. So if you want to take a chance that they're all submerged enough, you don't necessarily have to use the jar inside of that one. So for our third and last batch of pickles, we're going to be using a couple different radishes. I've got a purple daikon radish here, and then I have a watermelon radish, which looks really pretty on the inside if you've never cut into one. So I'm just going to take the end off. Same thing with the watermelon radish. You don't have to peel them, but I'm just giving them a little light peel just to get rid of some of that skin that looks like it's a little rougher and has some spots. But otherwise you could just scrub them really well with a good scrub brush. Just like our other vegetables, you can either use the mandolin or you can cut them by hand. This is where if you're cutting them by hand, you really want to have a good sharp knife. Mine is a little dull side right now. I need to sharpen it because I shouldn't have to saw through this. We want 2 cups of sliced vegetables, so I'm going to cut up a cup of the purple daikon and a cup of the watermelon radish. Now I'm keeping these in big round pieces, but of course you can cut these in half, you can cut them in quarter-size pieces to make them smaller. See how beautiful that is? Just like a little watermelon. These will be much easier to cut if you slice your watermelon radish in half. Either slice them into little half moons with the cut side facing down, or if you cut this in half, then you can cut the quarters. And it's just more stable that way because then you have a flat piece down on the cutting board. So please feel free to make it easy on yourself. So for our pickling brine, we have 2 cups of water. We have 1.5 tablespoons of sea salt. I'm using the Redmond real salt, which I really love. And then over here we have some pickling spice, which there are many different blends of pickling spice, but this one has a combination of different aromatic spices, like this is clove, there's juniper berries, sometimes there's mustard seeds, dill seeds. Like I said, every pickling spice is going to be a little bit different, but it smells divine. And we're going to use 1 tablespoon of this. Just like the water that we used in the other recipes, we boiled this and let it cool. And then we're going to add our pickling spice. And then we're going to place a lid on top and just shake it up. Now I'm going to pour the brine out into a measuring cup so that I can put all of the vegetables in the jar. And then layer your radishes inside the jar. Now we're going to pour the pickling brine over the vegetables. You want to make sure you get all that salt and spice in there. Fair warning, these radishes are smelly. This is going to make your kitchen a little stinky, but we're going to put a lid on it. Instead of putting cheesecloth on it, we're going to just put the lid on it. And we're going to let these sit for 3 days. So these ferment a little bit longer. And what we want to be sure to do is every day that they're fermenting, you want to loosen this lid once a day so that the pressure doesn't build up inside. So just be sure to loosen this once a day for 3 days and set this in a cool, dark place along with the other pickles. So after 24 hours, you can see that the color really developed nicely in our pink fennel beet pickles. They just look gorgeous. And over here, our tamari, carrot, broccoli stem, celery pickles are tasting great too. I couldn't help it. I tried a little bit. They taste amazing. And so I really hope you're going to try making some of these gut-friendly pickles. They're really easy to make. At this point, we're going to refrigerate them. So at this point, we can put the lids on and refrigerate them. One option is to add a little bit of sweetener. This one, I'm going to add my tablespoon of maple syrup. You can add sweetener to either of the recipes, or you can just skip it. And you'll have about maybe like a teaspoon or so of, any of these pickles with a meal. It really helps to digest a meal, and you don't need much. They are a little on the salty side, so just a teaspoon is fine. If you find them too salty, you can rinse them as well. That's another option. And you'll find that the flavor really develops over the next few days. And these pickles will keep for about a week in the refrigerator. And if you find that's too big of a portion, you can always give some away as a gift or just make a half batch. Wasn't that fun? You're going to feel so empowered making your own pickles. And they even make great gifts. Comment below with your favorite type of pickle of all time. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. When you subscribe and hit the notification bell, you'll find out about new cooking videos when they come out every week. Thanks for watching and happy pickle making!